Paper scraps fluttered down like wounded birds as Sarah Monroe crushed my boarding pass in her fist. I'm Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO of Helix Gen Pharma, and this was more than an airline slight. Tell us where you're watching from, because in 10 minutes, one call would ground an entire fleet. The cabin lights of the Airbus A380 dimmed slightly as my words hung in the air. First class, once my sanctuary, had become a theater of humiliation. Passengers turned in their seats, some wide-eyed, some nodding in solidarity, while a few discreetly fished out their phones. Failure to hook them here would mean losing thousands of viewers to a scroll. A beat of silence. Then the engine's distant rumble. I was still seated in 1A when Sarah Monroe's forced smile snapped. She tapped her tablet, her eyes cold. "We had an equipment change, Ms. Okafor. First class is full." I stood, the leather seat creaking under my weight. "I paid for first class," I said, voice calm and clear, gliding like a scalpel through the hush. She scanned my pass again, only to receive another error beep. With a swift motion that will replay in so many recaps, she tore the boarding pass into jagged pieces. "Tell us where you're watching from," I thought again, because viewers need a moment to process the outrage. But I refused to give her the satisfaction of watching me seethe. Instead, I dipped my chin, locked eyes with Sarah, and whispered, "You may have torn my pass, but you will never tear my resolve." I stepped past the curtain into premium economy, every footfall echoing like a heartbeat in slow motion. The cabin fell silent. A businesswoman in the row ahead gave me a careful nod. A mother clutched her child's hand a little tighter. Back in 23D, less space, coarser linen. I retrieved my phone and tapped out a message to Thomas Harrington, Helix Gen's chief legal officer. Subject, urgent. Flight 412 override logs. Thomas, send me all system logs for Flight 412. I need operator IDs, timestamps, and any manual overrides. This was deliberate. I hit send, knowing time was ticking. Then I unfolded a scrap of the torn pass, my talisman of insult, and tucked it into my blazer pocket. It symbolized disrespect. Soon, it would become leverage. The flight attendant's footsteps approached, offering sparkling water. I accepted, letting the condensation bead on my fingers. Rice crisp calm. That's how I needed to look. No theatrics, just strategy. I slid my tablet onto my lap and dialed the FAA's safety hotline, pre-saved under emergency. My finger hovered for a heartbeat, then pressed. FAA Safety Operations Center. How can I help? This is Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO of Helix Gen Pharma, aboard Flight 412 from London to Geneva. I'm reporting a manifest manipulation and safety protocol breach. Ground all coastal air aircraft for immediate inspection. A pause. Then, "Ma'am, that's extraordinary." My voice remained steady. "Extraordinary situations demand extraordinary measures." 10 minutes later, the captain's voice crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the inconvenience. We've received an FAA directive to return to gate for urgent safety checks." Within seconds, the plane eased its thrust and pivoted back. Passengers who'd been dozing stirred wide awake. I looked out the window at Heathrow's taxiway lights crawling beneath us. And then the markets reacted. My phone buzzed with a Bloomberg alert. COA stock down 18%. A fleet on hold, billions evaporating. Yet I barely flinched. This was only the opening move. As the A380 coasted back to gate B12, I rose and walked through economy to the first-class curtain. Sarah Monroe looked up, shock and guilt overtaking her earlier smugness. "I've also filed a whistleblower report with the SEC," I said quietly, lifting my phone to show the confirmation screen. "Logs, voice memos, every communication. Your legal team will have it in minutes." Her lips parted, but no words came. I didn't wait for a reaction. I turned and exited the cabin, leaving behind a silence more powerful than any argument. Down the jet bridge, the bright terminal lights cut through the dusk. I hailed a black cab to take me back to Knightsbridge. In a few hours, I'd be in Geneva to seal that $2.7 billion vaccine merger. But first, I had activated the equity kill switch, a clause in our M&A agreement that transfers 51% of Coastal Air's shares to Helix Gen if any safety manipulation is proven. In 15 minutes, I would hold the majority stake in an entire airline. 3 things are certain. Respect cannot be shredded, safety cannot be bargained away, and sometimes the quietest voice carries the greatest authority. And this story, your story, has only just begun. Simone Okafor steps out of the black cab onto the polished limestone driveway of her Knightsbridge penthouse. A gentle drizzle mists the air, London's street lamps twinkling like distant galaxies through the downpour. She pauses to lift her collar, silver hair bobbing as she strides inside. The door closes behind her with a soft click, sealing out the damp chill, and the memory of Flight 412's humiliation. In the vast living room, floor-to-ceiling windows frame a panoramic skyline, the Shard's glass beacon, the Tate Modern's stately silhouette, the faint glow of Big Ben's clock face. Beneath her, the city pulses with life. Taxis honk, double-deckers lumber past, umbrellas bob in rhythm. This penthouse is her sanctuary now, a place where every victory and setback has converged. She hangs her charcoal wool coat on a brass hook and slips off her heels, revealing bare feet on the plush cream carpet. A faint aroma of ylang-ylang and eucalyptus warms her senses, emanating from a diffuser tucked beside a shelf of awards and framed family photos. In one frame, a younger Simone stands in a crisp white lab coat, beaming beside her mentor at the university lab. In another, her mother, tall, proud, dignified, rests a hand on Simone's shoulder, eyes bright with hope. Tell us where you're watching from, Simone thinks, recalling the script she'll use to open her video. She smiles at the memory of that line and how it becomes a bridge between her world and the millions who will hear her story. She crosses to the marble-topped bar and pours a small cup of rich espresso. As the steam curls and the first bitter note touches her tongue, she allows herself a moment to reflect. From junior analyst to global CEO, she remembers her first role at a boutique biotech firm, fresh out of grad school in Boston. On day 1, she walked into a boardroom full of men in tailored suits, white men with crisp ties and polished shoes. When she introduced herself as a PhD candidate, a senior partner smirked and asked if she was lost. She recalls the sting of humiliation as the Wall Street Journal reporter in the lobby asked her, "So, do you plan to get coffee for the team?" She shudders at the memory, but it only sharpens her determination. Every slight, every condescension planted a seed of resolve deep within her. When she earned her first patent, her white male colleague said, "Lucky you're smart. If you weren't, who'd take you seriously?" She channeled that insult into longer hours in the lab, perfecting cell cultures until they sang with purity. The lesson from her mother. Simone walks to the vanity and touches the silver strand in her hair, her mother's pearl. She recalls her mother's words, spoken in a soft Nigerian accent. "Daughter, always carry your dignity like a shield. No one can strip you of what's already within." Those words became her mantra during countless all-night study sessions, and later, late-night board calls when investors questioned her credentials. She sets out a bespoke charcoal pantsuit on the bench. Sleek lines, perfectly tailored. As she smooths the fabric, she thinks of Geneva, the World Health Summit, where she will pitch Helix Gen's integrated vaccine platform to the board of global health ministers and investors. She will stand before them and demand respect not just as the architect of a $2.7 billion merger, but as a leader who has fought invisible battles to earn every seat at every table. Morning rituals of power. In the marble bathroom, warm steam wraps around her as she steps into a walk-in shower. She lavishes an invigorating salt scrub onto her shoulders, each graining of salt a reminder of the friction she has overcome. She closes her eyes and imagines the Swiss Alps outside the Geneva Convention Center, crisp air filling her lungs. Dressed now in the pantsuit, Simone takes a deep breath and applies a line of soft plum lipstick. It's subtle but authoritative, her non-verbal signature. Next, she clips her hair back, securing it with a mother-of-pearl pin her mother gave her on graduation day. That pin has weathered 10 acquisitions, 7 mergers, and countless boardroom showdowns. Today, it will witness one more triumph. She returns to the living room and sits at her glass-top desk, opening her laptop. The screen glows with the presentation slide deck. Helix Gen Pharma, Integrated Vaccine Solutions. Slide after slide dances across the screen. Clinical trial data, regulatory roadmaps, distribution logistics, ROI projections. Each number, each chart is a testament to years of relentless work and unwavering vision. Turning indignation into strategy. A soft ping interrupts her focus. Thomas Harrington's email has arrived. The system logs from Flight 412. She clicks the attachment. A time-stamped trail of entries, flag overrides, operator IDs, and a voice memo file. She listens. Let her taste what the rest of us endure. Carl Whitman's voice crackles through the speaker. Simone's lips curve into a small, knowing smile. The world thinks they humiliated her. They have no idea they just handed her the smoking gun. She imports the logs into her briefcase of evidence, each file a silent soldier in her campaign for justice. She leans back and allows her anger to sharpen into resolve. No more raw indignation. Now it's time for cold, calculated action. The equity kill switch. Simone opens a secure browser and reviews the merger agreement clause she insisted upon, the equity kill switch. If any safety manipulation or manifest tampering is proven, 51% of Coastal Air's shares will automatically revert to Helix Gen within 15 minutes. It was a difficult negotiation point, one that Coastal Air's lawyers scoffed at. Until today. She pictures the board of Coastal Air, scrambling as the clause activates. The realization gives her a spark of satisfaction, one born not of vengeance, but of accountability. They gambled with passenger safety and corporate integrity. Now, they will pay the price. A heartbeat before impact. Simone stands and pads over to the window, pressing her palm against the cool glass. She watches London's silhouette soften under the rainy dusk. The city may never know the battle that unfolded in her penthouse, but millions abroad will. She pulls her phone from her pocket, typing a quick update to her production team. Finalize hook edits. Start video with line. Paper scraps fluttered down like wounded birds. Then fade into Chapter 2. Post at 8 p.m. GMT. Let's remind them, respect isn't optional. She closes her eyes and inhales, feeling the weight and clarity settle in her chest. All the humiliation, every slur and slight, has led to this moment. She is not the same woman who walked into Flight 412. She is stronger, sharper, unbreakable. Fires of resolve. Simone straightens her spine, smoothing the lapels of her suit. The hum of London outside dims beneath the surge of her purpose. Tomorrow's summit will not just be a transaction. It will be her platform to redefine respect, accountability, and power in biotech and beyond. She picks up her tablet, opens her draft to the FAA and SEC reports she'll finalize in flight, and types the next subject line. Subject, evidence and audit. Flight 412 sabotage. Her finger hovers above send. A final breath, and she taps. The documents whoosh into encrypted channels, each packet carrying her truth to regulators and news desks. Simone packs away her laptop and steps onto the terrace, raindrops kissing her cheek like tiny benedictions. The city lights refract through the droplets, turning them into stars. In that instant, she feels a profound calm, an unwavering certainty that the next chapter will be hers to write. As she retreats indoors, she glances back once more at the London skyline. Tomorrow, Geneva awaits. But tonight, she is exactly where she must be, at the crossroads of past pain and future triumph, forging a path that no one will ever forget. Simone Okafor stepped out of the rideshare sedan into the crisp Chicago morning. O'Hare International's Terminal 3 buzzed with pre-dawn energy. Crews wheeling carts, baristas pulling shots, and early bird business travelers clutching steaming lattes. She adjusted the leather strap of her portfolio bag and inhaled the scent of fresh coffee and airport carpet. Today's mission was clear. Board Flight 412 in Seat 1A, reclaim her dignity and fly on to Geneva. Her phone buzzed with a weather update. Clear skies above Geneva. But before she could savor the confirmation, her mobile boarding pass displayed a red alert. Seat reassigned. 23D Premium Economy. Simone's pulse quickened. She tapped the refresh icon. Same result. No explanation beyond equipment change. She pressed her thumb against the screen, as if willing the glitch to vanish. A tall gate agent in crisp Coastal Air uniform noticed her frustration. "Good morning, Ms. Okafor," he said with polite firmness. "Seat 1A, no longer available. Equipment swap on the A380 reduced first class from 8 seats to 4. Your platinum status means you'll get priority if anything opens up." Simone's jaw tightened. "I understand maintenance can force swaps," she replied evenly. "But my reservation was confirmed last night. I paid for that seat." He glanced at her tablet and then away. "I realize it's inconvenient. We've issued you a 10,000-mile credit and marked priority, but first class is fully booked." She exhaled slowly, gathering her composure. Every inch of her CEO persona was calibrated to radiate calm authority. "Could you check with a supervisor?" she asked softly. "I need clarity on who authorized this change and why." His shoulders tensed. "I can call my lead, but odds are..." Before he could finish, Simone offered a quiet smile. "Please do." He stepped aside and dialed. Simone watched through the glass partition as he spoke in low tones, hands fluttering in exasperation. A family of 4 paused behind them, the parents exchanging sympathetic glances. A businessman with earbuds peered over, curiosity flickering. Simone welcomed their silent solidarity. Moments later, the agent returned. His polite mask had slipped. Fatigue lined his eyes. "Ms. Okafor, I spoke to my supervisor. No change. Premium economy is your only option." A murmur rippled through the priority lane. Simone folded her arms. She felt the carpet's fibers beneath her shoes. Solid, unyielding, a subtle reminder that her resolve could be just as firm. "Thank you for trying," she said, voice steady. "I'll take it up from here." She slipped past the velvet rope and into the premium economy queue. Each step felt heavy with indignity. The young mother offered a quick nod. The businessman offered her a half smile. Even the gate agent watched her go, guilt mingling with obligation in his posture. Simone didn't look back. Settling into seat 23D, she smoothed the fabric of the armrest and unfolded her laptop. The hum of charging outlets and the click of seatbelt buckles provided a rhythmic backdrop. She opened her email draft to Thomas Harrington. Her fingers flew over the keys. Subject: Critical Logs, Flight 412. Override Thomas. I need full system logs for Flight 412. Timestamps, operator IDs, any manual overrides. This isn't a random maintenance swap. It's deliberate manipulation. Simone. She hit send and closed her eyes for a moment. The faint squeak of overhead bins echoed through the cabin, a reminder that every small sound mattered in this confined space. Next, she logged into Helix Gen's secure portal and reviewed the override notifications. 2 entries, both within minutes of midnight, bore the same supervisor credentials: CW2378, Carl Whitman's badge number. Simone's lips curled into a subtle smile. They thought they had pushed her off the aircraft. Instead, they had handed her the smoking gun. A flight attendant passed by, offering a bottle of water. Simone accepted it with a nod. "Thank you." The attendant hesitated, then added, "Ms. Okafor, I'm so sorry." Simone inclined her head. "Thank you. I appreciate it." The attendant's small gesture of empathy was a spark of warmth in the sterile cabin. Simone tucked her water into the cup holder and returned to her screen. The boarding call crackled through the PA. Boarding priority group 3, premium economy, seats 2029. She rose and slid through the aisle, passing rows of business travelers, young families, and lone adventurers. The path led her to the first-class curtain, where Sarah Monroe stood stifling a sigh. Their eyes met. Simone offered a nod. No anger, only unflinching resolve. Sarah's face crumpled into contrition, but no apology emerged. Behind the curtain, passengers reclined in leather cocoon seats, oblivious to the undercurrent of tension beyond the divider. Simone stepped into her new seat and clicked her belt clasp shut. Seat 23D was technically better than economy, but in that moment, it felt like exile. Once settled, she reached into her blazer pocket and pulled out a scrap of her torn boarding pass, her quiet trophy of injustice. She held it between thumb and forefinger, tracing its jagged edge. Each paper fiber was a testament to Sarah's arrogance and Carl's sabotage. Simone placed the scrap into her wallet, then powered up her tablet. With a few taps, she pulled up the FAA safety hotline number and the SEC whistleblower portal. The cold logic of her next moves unfurled in her mind. Ground the fleet, seize control, rewrite the rules. She leaned back, closed her eyes, and inhaled the recycled cabin air. Breathe in calm, breathe out strategy. The call to the FAA wouldn't happen for another chapter, but the spark had been struck. Simone Okafor was no longer a passenger waiting to be humiliated. She was a catalyst. Mid-flight, she'd shift from victim to victor. But here, at O'Hare's Gate B12 and in seat 23D, the real battle began. Against a system that undervalued her, she had found her leverage. Against an airline that saw her as just another name on a screen, she would prove that respect isn't granted. It's earned by those brave enough to claim it. And as the jet engines roared to life and the cabin doors slid shut once more, Simone felt that familiar surge of purpose. No matter how high the wall, she would climb it and leave a crater in its foundation. Simone leaned back into her premium economy seat, airline blanket draped across her lap, and watched the gentle pulse of overhead reading lights. Around her, passengers settled into mid-flight routines, reading e-books, scrolling through tablets, drifting toward sleep. Even the flight attendants moved with a practiced calm. Simone's own breathing felt unnaturally loud, a metronome marking the seconds until her plan took shape. She retrieved her tablet and tapped open the secure Helix Gen messaging app. A quick fingerprint scan later, she composed a brief note to Thomas Harrington, her chief legal officer. Subject: immediate. Flight 412 logs, Thomas. I need every override log from Flight 412, including operator IDs, timestamps, and any audio recordings from the Coastal Air Ops Center. Evidence suggests this was a manual downgrade. Please pull everything ASAP. Simone. She hit send and closed her eyes. The click of the send button echoed like a starting pistol. This was no mere customer service grievance. It was the spark that would ignite a corporate reckoning. 10 minutes later, her tablet chimed. A message from Thomas. Received. Diving in now. Simone allowed herself a thin smile. Thomas was as meticulous as they came. A seasoned attorney who had built his reputation on dissecting complex M&A agreements and exposing hidden liabilities. If anyone could turn a digital breadcrumb into a smoking gun, it was him. She folded the boarding pass scrap from her blazer into the notebook on her lap and looked out the window at the endless white of clouds. Up here, the world felt both infinite and pinprick small. Each cloud was a whisper of possibility. She tapped her fingers against the leather armrest, recalling her mother's advice. Every setback is a step forward if you know how to use it. Below deck, the hum of conversation and engine noise melted into a low drone. Simone closed her eyes briefly, letting that ambient buzz sharpen her focus. She had never been one to react in hot anger. Her power lay in the cool, methodical precision of her response. 30 minutes later, her tablet pinged again. Thomas had delivered a compiled report. Override log summary 0012. System auto-reassign triggered by maintenance flag change. 0013. Manual override applied by Supervisor ID CW2378 0014. Boarding pass invalidated. Attached voice memo file. Whitman 0714 MP3. Simone's pulse quickened as she tapped the audio file. A crackle, then the rough voice of Carl Whitman, Coastal Air's veteran operations supervisor. Carl. Voice memo. Let her taste what the rest of us endure. She thinks she can buy every inch of this cabin. We'll show her she doesn't belong. No one does. The words landed like a blow to her chest. She pressed pause and let the echo of his contempt fill the cabin. There was no mistaking the tone. Smug, resentful, entitled. It was the same arrogance that plagued boardrooms when Simone demanded equal footing in discussions dominated by older men. Her lips curved into a quiet smile. The proof was undeniable. This was no glitch. This was a targeted act of sabotage. Simone's indignation transformed instantly into strategic clarity. She tapped out a new message to Thomas. Upload logs and memo to the SEC portal right now. Label it Emergency Safety and Equity Breach. I'm drafting the cover note for them. She hit send, then opened her draft letter to the FAA Safety Operations Center. The words flowed with practiced authority. Subject, Urgent Safety and Compliance Breach. Flight 412, Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO, Helix Gen Pharma, aboard Flight 412. Evidence of manual manifest override and intentional passenger downgrade. Request immediate grounding of all Coastal Air operations pending full inspection. Details and recordings attached. As she attached the override summary and Carl's voice memo, a flight attendant paused at her side. Ms. Okafor, would you like anything else? Simone met her eyes and shook her head. Thank you. I've got everything I need. The attendant offered a sympathetic nod and glided away. Simone exhaled, feeling the tension crackle like static. She tapped send on the SEC report and watched the confirmation screen. Submission complete. Your docket number is 2025 SEC 412. Now the regulators were in play, and the equity kill switch clause in the merger agreement trembled on the edge of activation. In 15 minutes, if the auditors confirmed the manipulation, 51% of Coastal Air's shares would revert to Helix Gen. The airline thought they had pushed her aside. Instead, they'd handed her their crown. A hush fell over Simone as she closed her eyes, letting the magnitude of the moment sink in. Around her, the plane's cabin lights dimmed for mid-flight service, and a gentle murmur rose as passengers settled once more. Simone straightened, her posture regal in that small premium economy seat. She tapped her phone to alert her executive assistant in Geneva. Meeting prep. Finalize slide deck with logged evidence. Update financial models to include Coastal Air equity. Schedule press strategy call for immediate release upon SEC confirmation. Her assistant's quick, understood, blinked back. Simone closed her phone and allowed herself a single, rare smile of satisfaction. The battle lines were drawn, but she also knew that real corporate warfare was a marathon, not a sprint. She reviewed her strategy. Public confidence, maintain poise, keep Helix Gen's reputation unassailable. Regulatory leverage, press FAA and SEC for maximum safety and compliance scrutiny. Boardroom pressure, activate equity kill switch and secure majority control. Cultural audit, demand immediate third-party review of Coastal Air's operations and leadership. As the flight attendant passed out warm towels and orange juice, Simone accepted hers with calm grace. She closed her eyes briefly, savoring the citrus sweetness, another reminder that small comforts could fortify the strongest resolve. She thought of her audience, the millions who would watch her video later. She wanted them to feel the tension tight in their chests, to understand how alchemy of proof turned insult into leverage. Tell us where you're watching from, she'd say, because this isn't just my story. 15 minutes. That was all she needed. The clock ticked quietly in the cabin. Soon, the ground beneath Coastal Air's executives would shift. They would discover that in the battle for respect, she wielded a kill switch more potent than any raised voice. Simone leaned forward and tapped her tablet's home button. She reviewed the merged evidence packet one more time, each document polished, each audio clip time-stamped. She was ready. Outside, the sky stretched in an unbroken ribbon of white. Inside, she sat alone, yet utterly connected. To justice, to her heritage, to every silent observer who had ever felt powerless in a hostile world. And as the Airbus A380 cruised steadily toward Geneva, Simone Okafor felt the tension sharpen into a blade of intention. The conflict had escalated, and there was no turning back. She would ground the airline, seize control, and prove once and for all that respect demanded not noise, but unyielding resolve. Simone Okafor settled deeper into her premium economy seat as the Airbus A380 leveled off at cruising altitude. She tucked a loose strand of silver hair behind her ear and opened her tablet, fingers poised over the secure Helix Gen portal. Around her, the cabin lights shifted to a soft glow for mid-flight service. Passengers reclined. Reading lights flickered on, and flight attendants moved with practiced ease. But Simone's mind was elsewhere. Focused, steely, resolute. She glanced at the small fragment of boarding pass tucked into her blazer pocket. A single jagged edge. A quiet reminder of Sarah Monroe's arrogance and Carl Whitman's sabotage. That scrap of paper had ignited a plan far more powerful than any angry outburst. A meticulously crafted silent strategy to hold Coastal Air accountable. Step 1. The FAA report. Simone opened her draft letter to the FAA Safety Operations Center. She had formatted it for maximum clarity and impact. Subject: Urgent Safety Protocol Violation, Flight 412. From Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO, Helix Gen Pharma. Date: June 25th, 2025. To whom it may concern, I am currently aboard Coastal Air Flight 412, London, Geneva. I have obtained incontrovertible evidence of manual manifest manipulation and intentional passenger downgrade, in direct violation of FAA safety and operational protocols. Attached are logs indicating override actions by Supervisor ID CW2378 and a time-stamped audio recording of the admission of intent. I hereby request immediate grounding of all Coastal Air aircraft pending a full safety inspection. Respectfully, Dr. Simone Okafor. She paused, reread each sentence, ensuring there was no room for misinterpretation, no superfluous emotion, only documented fact and formal request. Then she tapped send. A confirmation banner flickered. Your directive has been received. Immediate action pending review. Simone allowed herself a breath. The FAA had been alerted. Now the silent machinery of safety oversight would begin to turn. Step 2. The SEC Whistleblower Report. Next, she opened the SEC's encrypted whistleblower portal. Years of executive negotiation had taught her the importance of meticulous documentation. She attached the following assets: the override log summary with operator IDs and timestamps, the unaltered audio file of Carl Whitman's admission. Let her taste what the rest of us endure. Screenshots of her correspondence with Thomas Harrington requesting the logs. The torn boarding pass fragment as a PDF scan, annotated with the boarding time and seat details. She drafted her cover message. Emergency whistleblower submission. Coastal Air manipulation. From Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO, Helix Gen Pharma. Details: manual manifest override, intentional passenger degradation, safety protocol breach. Evidence includes system logs, audio confession, and visual proof. Urgent review requested under Section 21F of the Securities Exchange Act. I certify that all information provided is accurate to the best of my knowledge. I am prepared to cooperate fully with your inquiry. Her finger hovered over submit for a heartbeat, an echo of Carl's smug declaration. Then she pressed. The portal acknowledged. Submission complete. Your report has been docketed under 25 SEC 412. Simone closed her eyes briefly and let out a small exhale. The dual reports were filed. She had played her hand, but the real power now lay in their execution. Step 3. The boardroom play. In her mind, she rehearsed the next phase. Geneva, the summit hall, rows of health ministers and global investors. She would slip the FAA directive and SEC docket number into her opening remarks, two unseen detonators that would reverberate through Coastal Air's boardroom in the coming hours. And she would carry her equity kill switch clause like a hidden ace, a contractual safeguard that transferred 51% of Coastal Air shares to HelixGen if any safety manipulation was proven. She tapped her tablet to draft a confidential memo to her executive assistant. Subject: Geneva Board Prep, Safety and Equity Update. Integrate FAA directive slide into opening deck. Add SEC docket info to risk assessment. Update financial model to reflect potential 51% stake activation. Prepare press statement contingencies post-presentation. A quick "understood" pinged back. Simone smiled at the efficiency of her team. They were the steel frame supporting her vision. A moment of human connection. The galley curtain swished open and a flight attendant approached with a warm towel and a sympathetic glance. "Ms. Okafor, can I get you anything else?" Simone accepted the towel with a genuine nod. "Thank you. You've been very helpful." The attendant touched her elbow gently. "I'm sorry about what happened earlier. If there's anything I can do." Simone's chest warmed. "Just your kindness," she replied softly. "Thank you." Moments like this reminded her that the fight wasn't just about corporate leverage. It was about people. The silent solidarity of a flight attendant, the knowing nods of passengers. These small gestures fed her resolve, converting indignation into authority. Seated back in 23D, Simone opened a new document titled Power Moves. She outlined 4 key actions: public announcement, draft press release highlighting HelixGen's safety concerns, and commitment to passenger welfare. Regulatory liaison, coordinate with FAA and SEC contacts to ensure swift follow-up. Contractual enforcement, engage legal team to prepare for immediate kill switch activation. Cultural mandate, prepare press statement on the necessity of corporate accountability and ethical leadership. Each bullet was a step in her silent campaign. She refined the language, choosing words like obligation and integrity over revenge or punishment. She knew her audience, viewers in their midlife or golden years, many of whom prized dignity and fairness above all. She would speak to their values: respect earned, power wielded quietly but decisively. The calm before the storm. As the cabin lights dimmed further for rest, Simone closed her eyes and leaned her head against the seat back. She pictured Geneva's grand hall, the murmur of diplomats, the clicking of light-up nameplates. She would walk in carrying not just a vaccine strategy, but 2 regulatory swords, a FAA directive and an SEC docket, ready to strike at the heart of systemic negligence. She breathed in calm, exhaled certainty. This was the crux of her transformation, turning raw indignation into a leveled strategy that would echo across boardrooms and regulatory chambers, a final preparatory gesture. With a stealthy movement, she reached into her bag and pulled out a custom leather portfolio. Inside lay the printed slide deck, annotated with margin notes. Where to drop in the FAA order, how to segue into the SEC documentary evidence, which charts to highlight when discussing the 51% stake contingency. She traced the embossed HelixGen logo with her fingertip, a talisman of the values she had built her company on: science, justice, accountability. The flight attendants began collecting service trays. Simone handed back the empty cup with a warm, confident smile. Around her, passengers slept or read. The engine's hum was a lullaby laced with promise. She let her mind drift for a moment to the possibility of transformation, how one woman's quiet resolve could challenge entrenched power and create a safer, fairer airline. The seatbelt sign chimed off. Simone tucked her tablet away and closed her eyes. In that semi-darkness, she felt the tension of the last hours finally soften into focus. The silent strategy was in motion, invisible yet unstoppable. Tomorrow, when she looped into Geneva's conference room, She would no longer be just a passenger who lost her seat. She would be a force of accountability, the architect of an astonishing corporate turnaround. And all of it, every log, every memo, every shredded scrap of paper, had begun as a quiet promise that respect, once demanded, could never be undone. I dialed the FAA's Safety Operations Center from row 23 just as the cabin lights dimmed for mid-flight service. The hush that followed felt almost sacred, like the moment before a storm breaks. I'm Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO of Helix Gen Pharma, and in 10 minutes I would ground an entire airline and seize control of its destiny. FAA Safety Operations, how can I assist you? The voice on the line was calm, efficient. Good afternoon, I began, my tone measured but unwavering. This is Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO of Helix Gen Pharma, calling from Coastal Air Flight 412 en route to Geneva. I've uncovered definitive proof of manifest manipulation and a deliberate passenger downgrade in violation of FAA safety protocols. I'm requesting an immediate ground directive for all Coastal Air aircraft pending a full technical inspection. Silence stretched. I could almost hear the agent weighing the implications on the other end. Then, "Dr. Okafor," the agent said, voice edged with surprise. "That's extraordinary. Grounding an entire fleet is not a decision we take lightly." My pulse steadied. This was the moment I had envisioned. "Extraordinary situations demand extraordinary measures," I replied. "I'm attaching system logs indicating a manual override by Supervisor ID CW2378 and an audio recording admitting intent to humiliate and degrade me. If they can manipulate the manifest, who's to say maintenance logs haven't been tampered with? We must assume risk until we verify integrity." A brief clatter of keyboard clicks. Then, "Acknowledged, ma'am. We'll issue a ground order within the next 5 minutes. Please stand by." I ended the call and leaned back, allowing the gravity of my words to settle. Around me, passengers stirred, exchanging bewildered looks. A toddler in the row ahead gaped. The flight attendant paused mid-step with a drink cart in hand, and even the hum of the engines seemed to fade. 4 minutes later, the captain's voice crackled overhead. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Reynolds. We've received an FAA ground directive for all Coastal Air flights. We'll be returning to the gate for an immediate safety inspection. We apologize for the inconvenience and will keep you updated." The engines throttled back, the aircraft's forward momentum giving way to a slowing glide. My heart thrummed. Not with fear, but with a fierce satisfaction. My silent strategy had just become reality. Yet the call to the FAA was only half the story. 15 minutes after the manifest override evidence was confirmed, the equity kill switch clause in our M&A agreement automatically triggered. 51% of Coastal Air's BMCUM's shares transferred to Helix Gen Pharma. I hadn't just grounded planes. I had ground their ownership structure. My phone buzzed with simultaneous alerts. A Bloomberg notification flashed COA, 18%, then a secure message from our legal team. Equity kill switch activation confirmed, majority stake acquired. I allowed myself a small, almost imperceptible smile. Behind me, the flight attendant guided passengers toward the aisles for deplaning. I stood gracefully, buttoning my charcoal blazer as colleagues from Helix Gen, already alerted via encrypted channel, slipped on board to coordinate the next steps. On the jet bridge, a group of premium and first-class passengers lingered, whispering. A mother held her young daughter close. A businessman in a sharp suit tapped his phone, eyes widening. I caught their gaze and nodded once. No apology, just a quiet assertion that respect had its price. Down in the Coastal Air Ops Center, chaos erupted. Carl Whitman, whose smug voice had sealed his fate, sat frozen as monitors lit up with red alerts. Ground order, all flights. Share transfer, 51% to Helix Gen. Supervisors shouted into phones. Trading desks scrambled. Lawyers scrambled to interpret the kill switch clause they had scoffed at just weeks before. Back on board, I retrieved the torn scrap of boarding pass from my pocket. My talisman of indignity turned emblem of accountability. I slid it into a sheath in my portfolio, next to a USB drive loaded with the SEC report. The cabin crew moved quietly, the residual tension palpable, but no one challenged me. They knew this was bigger than any one person. A cabin attendant offered me a glass of water. "Ms. Okafor, are you all right?" she asked softly, genuine concern in her eyes. I met her gaze. "I've never been better," I said, voice calm. "Thank you." In that moment, I felt the full weight of the twist. The silent call had not only secured passengers' safety, it had rewritten the very ownership of coastal air. No dramatic speeches, no raised voices, just a single, decisive action. My phone buzzed again. A secure update from Geneva. The World Health Summit organizers confirmed my change in status. "Your keynote slot is now confirmed for 9 a.m. We understand there's breaking news. Please advise if you require any adjustments." I composed a brief reply. "Proceed as planned. I'll address it in my opening remarks." I closed my eyes for a heartbeat, letting the realization sink in. Tomorrow, I would walk into that summit not just as a biotech visionary, but as the majority shareholder of an international airline. My influence would extend far beyond vaccines and into the very skies we all depend on. Moments later, the Airbus rolled back to Gate 14. Passengers unbuckled, gathered belongings, and stepped into the terminal. I stood last, savoring the hush that fell over the cabin. The ground crew lined the aisle, waiting for my signal. As I walked off the plane, I passed through a snack cart and looked back at the empty seats, symbols of the power I had reclaimed. Outside, the gray morning light filtered through the hangar doors. The runway stretched out before me like a ribbon of possibility. A black SUV idled at the curb. Helix Gen's security team ready to whisk me to Heathrow for my connecting flight to Geneva. I climbed into the back seat, closing the door on the chapter that had begun with a torn boarding pass and ended with a quiet coup d'etat. In the rearview mirror, I caught my reflection, poised, resolute, an architect of silent power. No one would forget the day a single call grounded an airline and transferred its soul to the person who refused to be dismissed. And as the SUV pulled away, I allowed myself one final thought. This was only the beginning. The summit, the media, the boardroom, all awaited the ripple effect of my defining call. I leaned back, ready for whatever came next, knowing that true authority often speaks loudest in the quietest moments. The Airbus A380's engines winded down into a low whine as Flight 412 eased back toward Gate B12. Inside the cabin, an uneasy energy fluttered through premium economy and first class alike. Simone watched from her seat 23D as the seatbelt signs blinked off in flickering green. Conversations that had fallen silent resumed in murmurs of confusion. Passengers craned to glimpse the cabin crew scrambling to reset the jet bridge. A mother clutched her daughter's hand, whispering, "What's happening?" A suited executive in 5C tapped his phone, brow furrowed as a news alert popped up. "FAA grounds all coastal air flights." The headline glowed on his screen, sending ripples of alarm through his colleagues. Nearby, a teenager showed his companion a Bloomberg ticker. "COA, to 18% today." Simone's lips curved into a subtle, almost private smile. She folded the scrap of torn boarding pass back into her blazer pocket, her silent trophy of vindication. The ground crew marshaled in the aisle, their gestures hurried but restrained, as if wary of the authority that had just descended upon them. A flight attendant's voice broke the tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We'll be stopped at the gate for a full FAA safety inspection. We apologize for the inconvenience." No one moved. The stall in movement felt charged, as if every passenger sensed that this was more than a routine delay. Simone heard the click-click of phone cameras. Discreet recordings of her calm composure were already spreading through social feeds. In the intimate battlefield of mid-flight, she had gone from passenger to protagonist, wielding her authority without a shout. Behind her, the aft galley door swished open and came to rest. A pair of business-class passengers peered through the curtain, faces pale. Simone met their eyes and inclined her head. No triumph in her posture, only unwavering resolve. They looked away, minds racing. Ground control chaos. Down in the coastal air. Operations center at headquarters, alarms blinked red across a bank of monitors. Supervisors shouted into headsets. Calls were dropped and rerouted. On one screen, the manifest override log blipped insistently. CW2378 override at 0013, manual downgrade. Next to it, a ticker scroll showed COA, 18% in bold crimson. Carl Whitman leaned forward, mouth agape, his office phone trembling in his hand. He toggled between audio files and regulatory compliance screens. But nothing could reverse the kill switch clause that had just activated. 51% of Coastal Air shares had automatically transferred to Helix Gen Pharma. The airline's balance of power had shifted in a silent instant. Back on the plane, Simone closed her eyes briefly, letting the echo of her strategy settle. This U-turn was not just about safety. It was a statement that respect cannot be gambled away on a whim. Corporate trust crashed alongside the jet at the gate. Passengers' murmurs. As the jet bridge connected with a low thud, whispers rippled down the aisle. Did she really call the FAA? I saw the SEC notice. This is huge. I'm telling my son never to doubt a woman in power again. Simone stepped into the aisle with composed grace. Every footfall was deliberate. This was the aftermath of her silent strategy. Travel-weary passengers watched as she passed, some offering nods of admiration, others simply stunned into respectful stillness. A young father in row 21 caught her eye and mouthed, "Thank you." Simone returned a small, genuine smile. A cabin attendant hurried forward with her carry-on. "Ms. Okafor, your portfolio and your water." The attendant's tone was gentle, almost awed. Simone accepted both with gratitude. "Thank you," she said quietly, the words carrying more weight than any raised voice boarding gate buzz. In the terminal lounge, news cameras had already arrived. The jumbo jet's tail fin, emblazoned with Coastal Air's logo, sat motionless under the hangar lights. A swarm of reporters jostled for position, microphones extended. Simone paused on the jet bridge, slipping her tablet and portfolio into a sleek briefcase. She felt eyes on her from every direction. An airport security officer approached. "Ms. Okafor, Coastal Air's legal counsel is here to escort you." He gestured to a waiting representative who held a tablet displaying her flight records. Simone nodded and stepped off the plane, the press corps following at a discreet distance. Down on the tarmac, a black SUV idled under a canopy of bright floodlights. Helix Gen's corporate security team stood ready. As she reached the vehicle, a cluster of cameras flashed, capturing the moment that a CEO, once humiliated, now strode away in quiet triumph. Internal ripples. Inside the Coastal Air executive offices, executives huddled in an emergency meeting. On the main conference screen, Simone's name appeared next to bullet points. FAA ground directive issued. SEC whistleblower report filed. Equity kill switch activated. 51% stake transferred. Stock price plummet. 18% loss. Chairman William Foster rubbed his temples, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. CFO Rebecca Martinez sat rigidly, spreadsheets open, projections in tatters. They realized this was more than a PR nightmare. This was a corporate coup. A CEO's quiet satisfaction, Simone settled into the back seat of the SUV, the door closing with a soft click that echoed like a gavel. She exhaled slowly, feeling the stress of the last hour ebb away. Her phone buzzed. A secure message from Geneva read, "Your keynote slot confirmed. Summit awaiting." She allowed herself a private moment of satisfaction. No gloating, just a calm pride. The dramatic U-turn had been executed with surgical precision. She had turned personal indignity into regulatory leverage and corporate ownership. Outside the tinted window, airport lights blurred into long streams of white and red. Simone sipped the water from the attendant's glass, savoring each cool drop. The world beyond the window was still moving, but she had realigned its axis. Looking ahead, in the quiet of the SUV, she reviewed her mental checklist. Finalize summit opening remarks. Weave in FAA and SEC updates. Draft a press release for Helix Gen. Emphasize passenger safety and corporate accountability. Prepare to address potential backlash. Executives, regulators, and media. Brief her legal and communications teams on next steps for kill switch execution and board transitions. The SUV turned toward the departures terminal, where her next flight awaited. Simone closed her eyes, letting the rhythmic roll of tires ground her. She thought of the library of her audience, their values, their desire for justice delivered with dignity. They would see in her story a reflection of their own quiet strength. As the vehicle slipped into the terminal's embrace, Simone pressed her palm to the window, tracing a path toward the future. The U-turn might have startled Coastal Air and its passengers, but it had also set in motion a new era of respect and accountability, one that would echo far beyond the tarmac. And in that silent aftermath, Simone Okafor knew that true power is often revealed not in a shout, but in the resolute calm that follows. The black SUV's tires hummed against the tarmac as it pulled away from O'Hare's gate. Inside, Simone Okafor leaned back against the leather seat, the city lights of Chicago fading behind her. She knew the FAA's ground order and the equity kill switch had already set off seismic ripples, but her strategy required more than aviation regulators. It was time to bring in the financial oversight that would seal the deal. The SEC. Simone tapped her phone's SEC hotline contact and held it to her ear. The whir of the SUV's engine and the distant murmur of airport announcements gave way to a crisp, professional voice. SEC hotline. SEC Office of the Whistleblower, how may I help you? She drew in a steadying breath. Good evening. This is Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO of Helix Gen Pharma. I am filing an emergency whistleblower report against Coastal Air for deliberate manifest manipulation, safety protocol violations, and material misstatements that have directly impacted investors and passengers. There was a short pause. Dr. Okafor, the voice said, we have your FAA ground directive and the documented override logs. We'll open a formal docket under Section 21F. Please submit any additional evidence through our secure portal. Your report is confidential, and you may be eligible for an award. Thank you, Simone replied. I have logs, audio recordings, and correspondence ready. I appreciate your prompt attention. She ended the call and reopened the SEC portal on her tablet. With practiced ease, she uploaded the override log summary with timestamps and Carl Whitman's supervisor ID. The audio confession let her taste what the rest of us endure. Screenshots of her FAA correspondence. The torn boarding pass scan annotated. A confirmation message popped up. Report 25 SEC 412 initiated. Thank you for your submission. Simone tapped to generate a PDF cover letter, careful to use formal, precise language. Emergency Whistleblower Submission. Coastal Air. From Dr. Simone Okafor, CEO, Helix Gen Pharma. I certify that the enclosed evidence demonstrates intentional manipulation of safety and manifest controls, resulting in both passenger harm and investor risk. I request an immediate full investigation under the Securities Exchange Act. She hit submit, then closed her eyes for a moment. The dual engines of FAA and SEC were now roaring toward Coastal Air's headquarters, demanding answers. Ripples through Coastal Air. Back in Atlanta, Coastal Air's legal counsel received the SEC filing at 10:42 p.m. local time. The email alert set off a chain reaction. Compliance officers scrambled to assemble files, communications teams drafted holding statements, and the board's crisis committee convened in an emergency video conference. Chairman William Foster's voice crackled through the feed. We have two crises. an FAA ground order, and now an SEC docket. Our credibility is eroding by the minute. CFO Rebecca Martinez ran through the numbers on her shared screen. Fleet grounding, 112 flights held, $25 million in lost ticket revenue per day. Stock drop, 18% decline, $1.2 billion market cap wiped out. SEC docket, potential fines, legal fees, and whistleblower award liabilities. The compliance head, Angela Reyes, cleared her throat. We've engaged outside counsel and notified the FAA liaison. For the SEC, we need a thorough document production by morning. There's no option to contain this internally. Foster pinched the bridge of his nose. Prepare a public statement reaffirming our commitment to safety and transparency, and get me an analysis of that equity kill switch clause. I want to know if and how we can contest its activation. Angela's eyes flicked to the kill switch notification on her tablet. Section 8.3, automatic equity transfer upon safety breach confirmation. It's airtight, sir. Foster fell silent. Across town, Simone's plan was proving its strength. Not just a personal vendetta, but a corporate lever that no amount of legal wrangling could easily undo. A quiet resolve. Simone closed her tablet and leaned back, letting the SUV drift into the departure's drop-off. She glanced at the notification from Geneva. Your change status will be recognized at the summit. Security update pending. She tapped out a brief message to her communications director. Subject, summit acknowledgement. Please prepare an updated press kit. Include FAA Director quote, SEC, docket number, and kill switch activation timeline. We'll need bio highlights emphasizing ethical leadership. The reply came almost instantly. On it. Simone smiled tightly. Her team's readiness reflected months of preparation, everything from boardroom simulations to media training. But no drill could simulate the real-world impact of wielding regulatory authority. She sat in silence as the SUV eased to a stop at Heathrow's Terminal 3. The driver opened her door. Simone stepped out, adjusting her blazer, and walked through the sliding glass doors into the terminal's glow. Security clearances awaited, but she moved with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Preparing the summit speech. Beyond the security checkpoints, Simone found a quiet corner lounge. She opened her notebook and sketched the opening lines of her Geneva keynote. Good morning. My name is Dr. Simone Okafor, and I stand before you not only as CEO of Helix Gen Pharma, but as the newly appointed majority stakeholder of Coastal Air. This morning, I exercised a statutory protocol to ground that airline's entire fleet, an action compelled by incontrovertible safety and compliance breaches. I did so not out of retribution, but from a duty to every passenger and investor who trusts in the integrity of our systems. She paused, pen hovering. This announcement would shock the room, but that was exactly the point. She wrote another bullet. Key point. Accountability is not optional. Respect, once demanded, cannot be rescinded. She tapped her phone to double-check her calendar. Keynote at 9:00 a.m. Media availability at 11:00 a.m. Then she reviewed her checklist. FAA quote. Obtain a direct statement from the FAA director about the ground order. SEC acknowledgement. Reference docket 25 SIC 412 and emphasize the whistleblower provisions. Kill switch details. Outline how contract safeguards serve public interest. Personal statement. Share her own journey from lab to boardroom, honoring the audience's values. Simone looked at her reflection in the lounge's window pane, poised, determined, unbreakable. The silent power of her strategy had expanded into the legal realm, and soon into the highest circles of global health and finance. Emotional undercurrents beneath the outward calm. Simone felt a deep tide of purpose. She wasn't simply righting a wrong against herself. This was about setting a new standard of corporate accountability. The passengers who'd whispered their support, the agent who'd offered a warm towel, the mother and child who'd watched her U-turn. All of them were part of a broader narrative. That dignity and safety cannot be gambled away for short-term convenience. Her thoughts drifted to her audience, viewers aged 55 to 75. many of whom had weathered shifting economies, corporate scandals, and industry collapses. They understood the sting of injustice and the quiet strength it took to stand up. Simone's actions would speak to them, that true leadership doesn't require bluster, but it demands unwavering resolve. Onward to Geneva. A final voice note tacked to her communications director. Ensure the press kit highlights my commitment to ethical mergers and passenger welfare. Let's lead by example. With that, Simone tucked her notebook away and walked toward the escalators. The night's chill gave way to the terminal's warmth. Ahead lay a red eye to Geneva, a summit stage, and a packed agenda. But first, the world would hear about her legal front. 2 regulator filings, an equity takeover, and a message that silent power can reshape entire industries. Simone Okafor stepped onto the escalator, eyes fixed on the future, a future she was helping to write, not with forceful rhetoric, but through calculated integrity. And as the terminal lights glinted behind her, she felt an unshakable certainty. Respect, once demanded, could never be undone. Simone stepped into Coastal Air's sleek, glass-walled boardroom on the 22nd floor, flanked by Thomas Harrington and Patricia Akifer. 12 board members sat around a polished mahogany table, faces tight with anticipation. At the head sat Chairman William Foster, his posture formal but uneasily rigid. Without preamble, Simone clicked her remote. The projector hummed to life, displaying a time-stamped log file. 0013, manual override by CW2378. Next slide, a waveform of Carl Whitman's gravelly admission. Let her taste what the rest of us endure. Murmurs rippled through the room. Foster's jaw tightened. Simone's voice was calm, measured, each word deliberate. Carl Whitman, your veteran operations supervisor, manually downgraded my ticket and had my boarding pass destroyed in flight. That action violated both FAA safety protocols and our contractual integrity. She let the slide hang for a heartbeat. Rebecca Martinez, the CFO, cleared her throat. This is serious, Dr. Okafor, but does it warrant renegotiating our acquisition? Simone advanced to the next slide, a clause excerpted from the merger agreement. Equity kill switch, 51% share transfer upon confirmed safety breaches. The room fell silent. She met Foster's gaze. I'm not here to punish, I'm here to protect. If Coastal Air hopes to regain passenger trust and investor confidence, you must address the culture that enabled this sabotage. She outlined her conditions one by one. Independent culture audit by a third-party firm within 30 days. Leadership restructuring. Immediate suspension of implicated executives and appointment of a joint oversight committee. Quarterly compliance reviews with full transparency to regulators and shareholders. A low murmur of assent passed around the table. Patricia Akifer whispered, "These demands are stringent, perhaps unprecedented." Simone's tone remained steady. Culture isn't changed with apologies alone. It requires accountability at every level. She clicked to a slide showing headlines. CEO grounds fleet, SEC opens docket, share price plummets, 18. Your stock has lost nearly a fifth of its value. Fixing the problem now is the only path to stability. Foster leaned back, exhaling slowly. My board. We can't ignore these facts. He turned to Martinez. Rebecca, if we agree to these terms, can we survive the transition? Rebecca nodded reluctantly. With Helix Gen support and a clear audit timeline, yes, it's our best option. Silence settled as Foster regarded Simone. Finally, he spoke. Dr. Okafor, on behalf of Coastal Air's board, we accept your terms. Simone clicked one last time, an approval slide mirroring the amended acquisition outline. Thank you. Together, we'll rebuild an airline defined by safety, respect, and integrity. As handshakes were exchanged and murmured congratulations filled the room, Simone allowed herself a quiet smile. She had turned a moment of personal indignity into a corporate transformation, and done so with the unshakable calm that only true power can convey. Boardroom tension hung thick as humid Mississippi air. Coastal Air's board gathered under the stark LED lights one final time. This meeting to ratify the revised acquisition terms Simone Okafor had laid out. After hours of sober debate, William Foster cleared his throat and addressed the room. "Dr. Okafor, your conditions are clear and uncompromising," he began, voice steady. "Our board recognizes them as necessary." Simone met his gaze evenly. "I'm here to ensure Coastal Air not only survives but thrives, with safety and respect at its core." First on the agenda was Carl Whitman, the architect of the sabotage. Patricia Akifer, Coastal Air's general counsel, cleared her throat. "Per our agreement, effective immediately, Carl Whitman is suspended pending formal investigation and removal from any operations role." She tapped a gavel icon on her tablet, and Carl's name blinked on the digital roster. No longer an approved supervisor. A ripple of relief passed through the room. Simone allowed herself a small nod, but kept her expression composed. Next, Simone outlined the Joint Oversight Committee. "We'll establish a 5-member transition team, 2 representatives from Helix Gen, 2 from Coastal Air, and a neutral chairperson appointed by the Independent Aviation Ethics Board. This committee will oversee all safety protocols, manifest controls, and cultural training initiatives." Rebecca Martinez, still absorbing the implications, typed notes vigorously. "Timeline?" she asked. "Committee formed within 15 days, Simone replied. "First full review within 60 days. Slide by slide, Simone walked them through her conditions. Third-party culture audit to map systemic bias and operational vulnerabilities. Quarterly compliance reviews published in full to regulators and shareholders. Mandatory ethics and respect training for all 18,000 employees worldwide, beginning Q3. When Simone touched on the equity kill switch, Foster's eyes flickered with unease. "The clause has activated, transferring 51% share ownership to Helix Gen. We understand that, moving forward, Helix Gen will chair the board to guide these reforms." Silence stretched. Then Foster nodded slowly. "Given the circumstances, I agree. Effective today, Dr. Okafor will serve as interim chairman of Coastal Air's board of directors." Simone pressed her lips together, then offered a calm, genuine smile. She had anticipated this moment, not for power's sake, but to ensure accountability anchored at the highest level. Patricia finalized the documents on her tablet. Amended acquisition agreement, committee charters, leadership transition plan. She sent them to each board member's inbox with a single click. "Please review and sign digitally," she instructed. Board members leaned over tablets and laptops, thumbs scrolling. Within minutes, digital signatures appeared under the final page. A collective exhale filled the room. Foster rose and extended his hand to Simone. "Welcome aboard," he said, voice warm but tinged with humility. She shook his hand firmly. "Thank you. Let's restore trust together." As the boardroom lights brightened, Simone looked around at the faces, some anxious, some relieved, all engaged. She knew the real work lay ahead, rebuilding culture, reinforcing safety, and proving that respect demanded vigilance as much as authority. With the amended terms in place, Coastal Air embarked on a new chapter, one where silent strategies yielded systemic change, and where a single boarding pass shred had blossomed into an industry-wide reform. Simone Okafor stood poised at the helm, ready to guide an airline toward a future defined not just by profit, but by integrity and dignity. The conference hall at Coastal Air's Overhaul Center buzzed with anticipation. Flight attendants, mechanics, gate agents, employees in crisp teal uniforms gathered under the new Aerostar Coastal Airways banner. Simone Okafor stepped to the podium, her poised presence commanding respectful hush. "Today marks more than a name change," she began, voice warm yet authoritative. "It's a promise. Safety, respect, and accountability will guide every flight." Behind her, screens flickered through before and after images of first-class cabins. Cream leather seats now wider, aisles now clearer, olive gold accents echoing our new brand palette. She clicked a remote. A slide detailed the independent culture audit, already underway with third-party experts mapping bias hotspots and identifying process vulnerabilities. Transparency is non-negotiable, Simone declared. Next, she unveiled the Ethics and Respect training rollout. Starting next week, all 18,000 of us will complete comprehensive workshops, scenario simulations, bias awareness, and passenger-first service standards. Employees exchanged nods. Some murmured eager approval. Finally, Simone introduced the quarterly compliance reviews dashboard. Live metrics, incident reports, audit scores, passenger feedback would stream publicly to stakeholders. "This isn't just about fixing what went wrong," she explained. "It's about building a culture that never lets us slip again." A senior flight attendant named Javier stepped forward, eyes bright. "Ms. Okafor, this shows true leadership. Thank you for giving us a voice." Simone smiled. "Thank you, Javier. Real change happens when everyone speaks up and when we all listen." As applause rippled through the crowd, Simone surveyed the room, a diverse team united by a shared vision. The revival was more than cosmetic. It was a foundational shift. And under Aerostar Coastal Airways, the future felt not just safer, but profoundly respectful. 3 months after Flight 412's unexpected return to Gate B12, Aerostar Coastal Airways' new first-class lounge gleamed under soft amber lights. Cream leather seats, built-in touchscreen consoles, and gently curving aisles reflected the olive and gold palette of the rebrand. Simone Okafor stood at the entrance, greeting employees and guests with warmth that belied the gravity of her mission. In the front row sat Mason Chen, the teenager whose shy thumbs up had bolstered Simone's resolve at 35,000 feet. He and his father, David, shared a proud smile as they watched Simone step to the podium. Behind her, a giant screen displayed real-time metrics. Customer satisfaction, plus 12%. Employee engagement, plus 22%. On-time departures, plus 15%. "Welcome aboard Aerostar Coastal Airways," Simone began, her voice rich with genuine gratitude. "This lounge is more than a space. It's a symbol of our commitment to safety, respect, and integrity." She paused to make eye contact with a flight attendant in uniform and a mechanic in coveralls, representatives of every role that makes a flight possible. She clicked her remote, and the screen shifted to testimonials from passengers who had flown 412 that fateful day. One clip showed a mother hugging her son in Economy Plus, grateful that a call had spared them danger. Another showed a veteran pilot quietly saluting Simone as she disembarked. Applause rippled through the room. "3 months ago, I faced a moment of personal indignity," Simone continued. "But more importantly, I saw an opportunity to spark systemic change." She pointed to the audit report on the screen. Color-coded reviews of safety protocols, bias training completion rates, and quarterly compliance dashboards now open to the public. We held ourselves accountable. We listened, we learned, and we transformed. Mason Chen rose, handing Simone a small card. "Ms. Okafor," he said, voice steady with admiration. "You showed me that courage can be quiet, and that respect can be enforced without a raised voice. Thank you for giving everyone the life they deserve." Simone accepted the card, a pressed scrap of olive leaf paper inscribed with the words, "Safety, Dignity, You." Her eyes glistened. "Thank you, Mason," she replied, "for reminding me why we fight for change." As the audience rose in a standing ovation, Simone surveyed the scene. Mechanics swapping stories in a corner, gate agents comparing revamped service manuals, engineers marveling at the new cockpit console displays. The entire team was united in purpose. She closed with a carefully chosen line, knowing her core audience, viewers aged 55 to 75, valued dignity above drama. True leadership isn't about asserting power with noise. It's about creating systems that protect everyone, every day. As we take flight into this new chapter, let's remember, respect, once demanded, can never be rescinded. Under the lounge's warm glow, the sense of shared triumph was palpable. And now, I want to hear from you. Tell us where you're watching from, and share how you'd stand up if you were in Simone's shoes. Your story matters. Let's keep this conversation flying.